Good evening, everyone. Not the usual reflection time, for which I apologise. Earlier today, we had Easter Code Part 2. Yesterday with Donnybristle Primary School, and today with Dalgety Bay Primary School. A morning full of fun. And yes, I did remember that it was Tuesday, and I even remembered this morning that I had a reflection to do at 10 a.m. But at 10 a.m, not a clue, completely out of my head. So apologies that we didn't get a reflection this morning. And there might have been a reflection during the day, but other things were happening. Maybe more of that in a little while. But an evening reflection, which, well, is different in itself and rather nice, especially when you've got the opportunity to sit in the church where it's quiet, on your own. We've got a reflection area set up, and the picture in the frame at the moment is the picture for reflection that Andrea set up for this week. Every week we have a different theme and a different way of looking at things, and we have what I think is an amazingly attractive picture of hands. We also have on the table a hand that people are invited to write on, a hand that holds a heart, a hand perhaps of God, but also perhaps our own hands, hands of love which hold and cherish and care. And on these hands, the invitation to write something. Now, perhaps it would be that you would want to write the names of those whom you love, that you hold not only in your hand, of course, but in your heart. It may be that you would like to write on here some of the fears that you have, some of the worries and anxieties, and you might think that if I write them here, then perhaps placing them in God's hand, God will hold them for me, hold my fears, my anxieties, but maybe also my hopes and dreams. What would you write in here? Of course, you can come along and do it yourself, but many of you perhaps are too far away or just not able to get in when the church is open. So who would you write? What names would you write on this hand? People that you love, people that you care for, people who are in need of prayer, people who, well, simply need to know perhaps that they are held in God's hand and in ours and in love. Lots of things that we can add and put in. Over on the other side of this table, we have the prayer or the reflection that Andrea has written. I'm not sure you'll be able to read that from this, but perhaps in the video you can stop it and have a look. And maybe at the end, I'll simply read that through, because it's about confidence. The confidence that we have in God, the confidence that tells us that we can truly trust God and put into God's hands the people whom we love. We can put into God's hands the fears that we have. We can also put into God's hands the hopes and the dreams that are ours. One of the reasons why there was no reflection, for example, this afternoon, and that it has waited this long, is because other things were happening today. One of those was a Zoom call with 120 plus people on it, organised by the Church of Scotland for people in the Church of Scotland to discuss, to debate perhaps, but more to learn about how we can help others fulfil some hopes and some dreams, how we can help others to lay down their fears or at least minimise them. For it was all about how we help, support, encourage the people who are fleeing from war in Ukraine, some coming to our own villages and towns and cities and communities, some who may come to our churches, some maybe coming to our homes, how we can open up safely and how we can support those who do host people and families who are seeking some peace, some reassurance, and maybe some hope. Can we offer our hands, hold them out well so that they know that they are hands in which they will feel safe, that they will be able to rest and stop. They can't stop the worrying for their family and friends who are still there. They can't stop those worries, but we can perhaps help direct them again and again to the one who holds not just those of us who are here in peace, but those who are in the midst of conflicts and wars. In Ukraine, within families, perhaps even within their own minds and brains, conflicts and wars and traumas that are too hard to deal with in one and way too hard to deal with alone. So with that Zoom call this afternoon, there was no opportunity to offer a reflection. But I think that has brought me to this time of peace in the quietness of the church. For I'm sitting here, and if I just pan up, you will see above what I am blessed to see on the Sundays where we preach from the front of the church. Our stained glass window, not seen by many of the congregation, perhaps some don't even know it's there. Seen from the front, from the chancel, and tonight backlit, so that the colours are reflected on the roof. That reflected light, those reflected colours, the brightness, and in the reflection, even more uncertainty perhaps of what the picture actually is. And yet as the focus turns to where that light comes from and where those colours are, we see perhaps a depiction of the sea, of fish, the sea which in scriptures depicts chaos, but also there a calmness and a colour, and strangely an assurance that God is with us. To be able to sit in the quietness of this place. We can look out through the doors to where people will come and go and be busy. But we come into this space where there is quietness and stillness and trust in our God. Who can you trust with your life? Who will you trust with your hopes, your dreams, and even your fears and anxieties? Being alone in church. Well, I'm not alone. And not just because God is with me, God's always with me, but because there is one beside me who is my companion and whom I can trust totally, always. She's a bit unsure as to why she's been taken to church on an evening when there's no one there to greet her and no one there to play with her. But she's here with me, having a little snooze, unsure perhaps if this is all there's going to be tonight, or if there might be time for some play, wondering what is ahead, but resting in that wondering. Maybe we can learn a lesson from our pets too, from Juma, to know that sometimes we have to stop and rest and wait until others are ready to move on. I know that at one word she will head off and think we're off to play. So maybe we'll not use those words just at the moment. The reflection of the evening time, in the quietness of this moment. Let's simply recall that these hands hold us, that God's hands are around us. To read the prayer that is alongside. Creator God, You invite me to trust in you. You invite me into relationship with you, loving me whether or not I love you, seeing me whether I see you or don't. Your confidence in me overflows from your very being, so confident that you have inscribed my name on your hand. And yet I sometimes doubt where you are, and in that doubting, I sometimes wonder who I am. I try to discern you, Creator God, the God whose artist hand created the heavens and earth, flung stars into space, and made daisies grow. And yet I sometimes forget your power, and when I do, I retreat into myself, waiting for you to come to me, hoping you don't find me, and yet so grateful when you do. Allow me to hear my name as you call. Allow me to know I am precious and loved by you. And as I begin to see your confidence in me, may I go into my world confident in you, you who hold me in your love. Amen. May the peace of this place be in your heart, no matter where you are tonight. May the peace of our God be in your very being, no matter how you feel, emotionally, spiritually, physically. May the peace of God's trust and confidence in you allow you to hope. And may you know that no matter what we do or where we are, God's confidence in us never fails. May you know God's peace and God's love. Amen. Maybe evening reflections are the way ahead, or maybe a mix. Hopefully we'll be back next Tuesday at 10 a.m, but you never know. We'll pop up somewhere, sometime, somehow. God bless you this evening.